I want to go over two different sets of terms we have for our historical eras, AD and BC, and then a newer set of terms, CE and BCE. First, let's look at AD and BC. This is the one that has been traditionally used for centuries and centuries. AD stands for Anno Domini, which is Latin for Year of the Lord. In the early Middle Ages, a scholar calculated that Jesus was born in the year we now call 1 AD, and so that became the starting point for reckoning our years. In English, we have added BC, before Christ, to reckon the years before 1 AD. Now let's start with AD. That's the simplest part. We're right around here at 2020 and working in the AD era. For each new year, you simply add 1 to the previous number. Next year will be 2021, and the year previous was 2019. To go back in time, the numbers go down. This is pretty intuitive until you hit 1 AD. The year before 1 AD is 1 BC. There is no year 0. This part here is the only real learning curve in that before 1 BC is 2 BC. In the BC era, when you go back in time, the numbers get bigger. 1,000 years before that is 1,000 BC. 1,000 years before that is 2,000 BC. This is something that you'll just have to get used to. One might ask, why couldn't they have simply started at year 1 way back in the beginning and then only gone forward? Wouldn't that be the simplest? Actually, the system where numbers get higher as they go back in time, as they do with the BC-AD system, is much more flexible. With this system, you can go back in time as far as you want. The numbers can go back up through infinity. You can have 1,000,000 BC and 1,000,000,000 BC and 1,000,000 AD for that matter. There are traditional Jewish and Chinese calendars that only go back several thousand years. The problem here is what happens when someone says, Earth was formed 4 billion years ago. The universe was formed some 12 to 20 billion years ago. If you can't go back from your predetermined year 1, you're in trouble. But the BC system allows you to go back in time as far as you want to. Okay, we've just gone over the traditional dating system, AD and BC. Now I want to talk about a system that has gained popularity in recent years, that of CE and BCE. CE stands for Common Era. BCE stands for Before Common Era. In my lecture notes and speaking, I use the terms AD and BC. I also use a textbook that uses CE and BCE. Now the good thing here is that the numbers are the same. 2020 AD is 2020 CE. 3000 BC is 3000 BCE. If the numbers of the years are the same, why did someone even bother coming up with a new system? Why not just keep using AD and BC? To answer that question, we have to go back to the meaning of the terms AD, Year of the Lord, and BC, Before Christ. Lord and Christ are religious terms. In recent decades, some people have objected to that, not wanting to use terms that refer to Jesus, such as Christ or Lord. So the terms CE and BCE were introduced. The CE and BCE terminology is religiously neutral. There are no religious statements made by the terms Common Era and Before Common Era. Now you can use either system in written work that's submitted to me. Either method is fine. The only thing I insist on is that you be consistent. Don't jump back and forth between one system and the other in the same document. Use either AD and BC or use CE and BCE. Just stick to one. As far as my own reasons for continuing to use the traditional lingo, AD and BC, my counter to those objections would be that if Christians can use the term Thursday without complaining that they don't worship the god Thor, or if atheists can use the terms January and March without complaining about someone trying to cram pagan Roman religion down their throat because they don't worship Janus or Mars, then non-Christians can use the terms AD and BC without being offended and complaining that Christianity is being crammed down their throats. I see this as a needless objection. Instead of choosing to be offended at traditional terminology that is based on one religion or another, how about we all decide to use commonly accepted terms for reckoning with time, regardless of whether they are Christian or pagan, or simply based on scientific astronomy? Maybe then we can learn to accept our differences instead of being offended at them.